you have annexed it as FNV5.
Yes.
And it starts at page 122 of the paginated bundle. You may proceed.
Okay. So it was towards the end of the financial year because the State of the Nation disaster was promulgated on the 15th of March. Now, most of the, in subs, let me talk about subs, we didn't have budget, for example, for those PPEs. However, I instructed that the CFO, together with General Nelson, goes and engage the National Treasury to assist us where must we get the money for the purchase of those PPEs. So the National Treasurer directed that we must look at the cost centers that are not going to utilize their budget by the end of the financial year. So we secured 140 million to purchase the PPEs, but unfortunately, the market was not, there was no stock in the market. Now, while I was, remember, there was an acting divisional commissioner at the time who was General Reed, responsible for supply chain management. So while I was in another meeting with General Ngwenya, we were in the board of Polmet, representing the national commissioner. And unfortunately for me, I was the chairperson of that board. While I was conducting that meeting, Lieutenant General Ngwenya kept on pushing papers and giving them to me, saying, these are the companies that come from Minister Cele, and the Minister Cele wants you to make sure that the orders are issued to these companies because these companies had stock.
Did you action out what you were instructed, that you must deal with just only those that were issued by Minister Cele?
I didn't. Because I realized that she was obstructing me in chairing the meeting. I asked her that she must talk to General Reed directly and submit whatever she wanted to submit to General Reed, which she did. Later on, I checked after the meeting with Reed. Reed did inform me. I even have one page here with me, which I couldn't, which was missed by mistake when I was scanning the annexures, where she sent a message to Reed that here are the companies, these companies manufacture the PPEs, please make sure that you buy from them. She even told General Reed that those companies came from the minister. Now, General Reed, because he was frustrated since the PPEs were not available in the market, he went up to an extent of going to the China embassy to seek assistance. How can we obtain the PPEs? He told me that he did send his people to go and check the stock availability. The reason why now he was using that method of doing a due diligence before he even considered the companies is because out of this 140 million that I've just mentioned that we first used in issuing orders to the companies that were on the transversal contract, there was no delivery that was taking place. And we needed PPEs. Now there was no more money available because those orders committed that money.
What did Lieutenant General Reed do?
He sent his people to go do diligence to those companies and they did not find any stock.
We are now at paragraph 26 of your statement.
Okay.
At paragraph 26, you state that Minister Cele berated you for not wanting to buy from the companies. How did this come about? You testified that the instruction was given to Lieutenant General Reed from Lieutenant General Ngwenya. How did you then end up getting involved and being berated by the minister?
Okay. The initial instruction that was given to us and General Reed was that we must centralize all the procurement of PPEs. Now, when National Treasurer gave those companies, General Reid and I realized that the provinces needed PPEs, and there were a lot of complaints, I must say, where members, when they were searching people out there, some people were refusing them to be searched by the police because they were not wearing PPEs. Now, we decided to decentralize, and we were busy emailing the letter to decentralization to all business units. General Ngwenya came and took us. We were in a meeting of National Steering Committee for COVID-19, which I co-chaired with General Ngwenya. He dragged us and said, the minister wants you. He took us to the office of the minister. And when we arrived at the office of the minister, we find General Masemula, General Libya, and General Ngwenya was there, and the chief of staff. It was myself and General Reid. The minister was very angry with us, shouting at us and saying, we don't want to buy PPE. We're saying there are no PPEs, but Ngwenya is giving us companies. We are not issuing orders. We explained what Reid has done, and I told the minister that we will not be coerced to purchase PPEs just because we wanted PPEs. There are processes that needed to be adhered. We received companies from national treasurers, and those companies we checked, they were not part of those transversal contracts. This is why, amongst others, we couldn't. But if they had PPEs, General Reid was going to follow another process of acquiring those PPEs from those companies. Then there was supposed to be a meeting thereafter. I'm sorry if I can elaborate further.
Yes, you may, but we don't
Okay.
actually have
All right,
enough
all
time,
right.
General, and I worry that you elaborate.
I have a lot of
beyond-
information.
Yes.
So there was supposed to be a meeting thereafter, which I think is critical with the National Commissioner, because the National Commissioner was not called in that meeting. So I called the National Commissioner and I told him that he must quickly come. We are not going, myself and General Reid are not going to attend to that meeting anymore. He must come and attend on himself because he was supposed to be in that meeting. And I explained to him what happened and that we were shouted by the minister as if we did not want to get PPE, and the fact that we decided to decentralize. So we went back to the office to centralize again, to issue another directive.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant General. At the next section, which starts at paragraph 28, the section is investigations are conducted as tasked by General Sithole. So you state that at paragraph 28 specifically, that during 2019, you were appointed to investigate allegations against Lieutenant General Ngwenya. What was the nature of those allegations and the outcome?
The nature of that investigation was that General Ngwenya is responsible for human resource, which included HRM and HRD, human resource development. She was responsible for all colleges in the country. So she took a child to a college who obtained license utilizing resources of the police. And there was a complaint regarding that. So I investigated that, and General Ngwenya was suspended as a result of my investigation. However, even though finally she was never found guilty by the chairperson due to the fact that they said there is no rule in the police or any other policies that says public officials cannot utilize resources, but that was an unethical conduct that was done by General Ngwenya, because you cannot bring your child in the environment where you are working and make them benefit while others in the country are not benefiting. However, she was later dismissed.
Is the problem, sorry, General, you've just said that you cannot make your child benefit while other children in the country are not benefiting. If the other children in the country were benefiting, would her conduct been okay or permissible rather?
I'm saying even if there was no policy, but the fact that I am responsible for colleges and I am bringing my children to benefit, it can be correct. The point I'm trying to say is that I did not agree with the decision taken by the chairperson in that hearing.
Okay, but that investigation ultimately led to the report that you attach at FNV 6, and that starts at page 128 of the bundle. We then move on to the next question. At paragraph 29, you state that General Mgwenya subsequently was dismissed for matters relating to blue lights. Would you like to comment on that? What does that have to do with the investigation that you did, which had its own report and was finalized?
Here, I'm just mentioning that she was a DNC responsible for human resource management, but she was later dismissed on a matter that was not even under her responsibility, but she was involved in that particular matter, which was a blue light matter that was under the DNC Asset and Legal Management. In other words, while she was HRM, she was encroaching in my space and doing certain works behind my back.
I see. General, at paragraph 30, you deal with the various, you detail the investigation that you conducted regarding Lieutenant General Jacobs. And can you comment on the outcome of what was the what were you investigating, and what was the outcome of the investigation, and how did Minister Cele become part of this investigation?
During March 2020, Lieutenant General Jacobs purchased the tools of trade or of crime intelligence, which they utilize in their execution of their duties at the value of 120 million, which was coupled with the vehicles where those two tools were going to be installed. Now, I think it was in 2022 at the early, I instituted, because they were not utilized due to the fact that they did not obtain the exemption certificate that was supposed to be obtained. In fact, they should have, after they applied and everything was approved, they should have applied for the exemption certificate before purchasing, but they purchased before.
What were the tools of trade?
It was the interception equipment that they utilize in the crime intelligence environment, the grabber, so referred to as the grabber.
And what were they supposed to have done?
They should have first obtained, after authorization to purchase, they should have stopped there and apply for the exemption certificate, but they purchased and requested exemption certificate later. So the equipment was
Lieutenant General, that section is labeled investigations that you conducted against General Jacobs. When you say they, who are you referring to?
To General Jacobs. I'm referring to General Jacobs.
So he.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when I discovered that those equipment are not being utilized, I was even taken on a tour by the crime intelligence officials when at a situation when I was acting on behalf of General Mfaz. They were gathering dust. So I instituted a fruitless and wasteful expenditure because it was almost 2 years when they bought the equipment and it was not being utilized. Even National Treasurer wrote us a letter in that regard.
Were there any steps taken against Lieutenant General Jacobs for that waste of expenditure?
I was still conducting that investigation when I was suspended.
At paragraph 31, you say in October 2020, you were tasked to investigate the circumstances surrounding the killing of Colonel Charles Kine. What was the outcome of your investigation?
The outcome of that investigation led to Lieutenant General Jacobs and others, not him alone, to be disciplined. together with the one on paragraph 32. I'm trying to now to push in order to, it leads to those two cases, led to General Jacobs to go through a disciplinary process, which he took it to the council triple SBC. And at the same matter, which I referred earlier on that meeting of the 5th of March, is when General Cele was not happy with me, saying, why did I recommend that General Jacobs must be disciplined, etc., etc. However, interestingly, those two cases, as we speak, I think it is last year, General Masemola has withdrawn them.
Okay. Before they were withdrawn, you attach a document at page 155 of the bundle in support of your of your paragraph, and that is a report. Would you like to speak to that?
155.
Yes. Paragraph 33 is that you were summoned by Minister Cele regarding this investigation into General Jacobs.
Yes.
What did he summon you for? And
He was querying that why did I recommend that General Jacobs must be subjected to a disciplinary process? And I explained that it was not my own doing. It was based on the evidence that I gathered, as well as the statements that were provided. And on also what was expected of him, Jacobs, in the matter. So he did not do certain things, or he omitted to do certain things. Hence, my recommendations fingered him in that particular report. And it was not only him and others.
when he summoned you, specifically in respect of Lieutenant General Jacobs, is it common for a minister to get involved in matters, in operational matters?
It is not common, especially in regard to disciplinary matters. And a few weeks thereafter, after that encounter with the minister, I was also approached by a team of investigators from IPED, which was accompanied by a prosecutor by the name of Mr. September. So interestingly, in that, they were investigating the criminal matter, because after my report, I caused for the case to be opened, referred to IPED. Now they were investigating that particular case. Now, interestingly, is the same line of questioning and that I received from the Minister Cele also came from this team, which was a surprise for me. But I suspected that they had a meeting before they came to see me. And I did not investigate that matter alone. I had two other major generals who were assisting me in that matter. So we were all interviewed and we all stood by our findings.
What was the minister's, what was he hoping to achieve by calling you into a meeting specifically regarding General Jacobs? Did he inform you exactly what he was expecting of you in that meeting?
I think the minister wanted, my understanding at the time, wanted me to recall my report and change recommendations against Jacobs.
Thank you, Lieutenant General. We are now at paragraph 35 of your statement. This is the investigation regarding the removal of Major General Nkosi, whom you say was removed as the chief audit executive. Can you comment on that?
Yes, Major General Nkosi was appointed as a chief audit executive. So during his appointment, the panel that appointed him, there was a complaint which was investigated by the Public Service Commission. And Public Service Commission discovered that when they appointed her, she did not qualify, she did not have relevant qualifications as per the advertisement to be appointed. And the panel that appointed her was recommended that disciplinary steps must be taken against it. The General Nkosi also, the Public Service Commission report recommended that she must be demoted to a brigadier. However, SAPS decided to keep her in that position and be given an opportunity to acquire those qualifications while acquiring experience at the same time.
So what was Minister Cele's stance on this?
She was appointed in 2012, but up until in 2022, there were still those report reminding us from Public Service Commission to find out has she completed those qualifications, but she hasn't. So then the minister was not happy with the removal of Brigadier Nkosi, Major General Nkosi, as the audit executive, because she was moved to a position of the same level, Major General, because SAPS felt that she has been in that position for a very long time. And even though she failed to acquire the qualifications as that was what was required of her, but it will not be human to demote her.
What was the outcome of that investigation?
The investigation was that, as I said, General Nkosi was supposed to be demoted, but SAPS took it on a humanitarian reason.
Yes, you state that you investigated it. What was your outcome of the investigation? What did you find upon the completion of your investigation?
That was not my investigation. It was the Public Service Commission investigation.
Okay, we can now move on to paragraph 36 of your statement. At paragraph 36, you say that around March 2022, there was a committee meeting. What of the minister and MEC's committee meeting held in Durban? What instruction did Minister Cele give you at this meeting regarding the IDT?
During the MINMEC meeting that was held in Durban, the minister gave me a directive that I needed to engage with the deputy minister, and we look into the possibility of utilizing the IDT in the infrastructure to assist the SAPS with the infrastructure development, which is the building of the police station, in order to fast track the backlog of the building of the police stations. The process, which was based on a particular treasury, treasury instruction note. So I did the work together with the DM and the team, and after finalizing the work, we compiled a recommendation and information note to General Masemula, which he needed to approve. Now, during the next MINMEC, which was in June 2022, in East London, I presented that outcome of the project, and the meeting was happy with the presentation, and I even indicated that the information note for rolling out that particular project was with the National Commissioner, which needed to be signed off. Now, when we came back from that particular meeting, the National Commissioner said to me, he wanted me to change certain paragraphs or sentences. For example, one of the things he wanted me to change was that I must not say that the directive that I received was given to me by the minister. And I said to the National Commissioner, no, it can't be, because this was in the open meeting. How can I say it was not him? And he also wanted, can't even remember now because I'm talking from my head. Then he said, you must be careful of Mr.
Lieutenant
Atai."
General, you don't have to talk from your head. You can actually go to your statement. We are at paragraph 39.
89.
Yes. And there are relevant annexures, so you can just read from, your statement.
Yeah, and then he said, yeah, you,
No, Chair, you can't say we're at paragraph 39. She was going to talk to paragraph 37.
37 years.
What had happened, Honorable Member, is that the witness spoke about paragraph 36, then she jumped to paragraph 40 to talk about the second meeting, and then she went back to 37, but I'm now bringing her back to where she was starting. And the purpose of that is to take her to the annexure that she relies on. So she, in her evidence, had just moved a couple of paragraphs. I was intending not to disturb her her train of thought, but I'm keeping a mark of where she is. You may proceed.
Okay, I also wanted to say that General Masemula made a comment to me that I must be careful of DM Castle Matale because he want to use this exactly a process to swindle funds in order to find the AFF. And I said to General Masemula, which is what made it strange, because he wanted me to say the instruction never came from General Delegate. So in other words, he wanted it to look like it came from Mr. Matala. Then I said, no, I'm not aware of what he was insinuating, and I don't want to mix my responsibilities with the politics that you are telling me about. I will not change that. And he made it very clear to me that your stubbornness is going to cost your career. Then I said, so be it, General, because there are witnesses that were there in the meeting.
You then state that at paragraph 38, what was your response to General Masemula's insinuation?
I told him that I'm not aware of what he was insinuating, and I also don't want to mix my responsibilities with what he was politicking about, and I will keep those paragraphs as they are, because these matters and directives were given to me in an open meeting.
Okay. This suspicion that General Masemola had regarding Deputy Minister Matale's intentions, was there anything to support those allegations?
There was nothing except that he said those things to me.
So in the conversation, did you probe further to ascertain why he was involving politics in a meeting that had to do with contracts and infrastructures? Where was the suspicion coming from?
I told him that I didn't probe further, except that I felt that he threatened me that your stubbornness, because he wanted me to remove that particular sentence that I received a directive from the minister. And he was trying to convince me that by saying that the statement that I must be careful of Mr. Matal, but there was nothing to me that was projected by the Deputy M that he had certain interest in the matter. And the task was given to us with the minister, by the minister, with the DM, and the officials that I worked with from supply chain were responsible for facility management.
Okay.
Now,
So-
I felt threatened, I didn't further. He said, your stubbornness will cause your career, so be it.
Okay. The information note that you rely on, which you then subsequently submitted, is annexure FNV 11, and that can be found from page 269 of the bundle.
Let me correct it, Honorable Chairperson. It is not, what I attached here is not the information note, because the information note was in the office of the National Commissioner. What I attached is a relevant document of how we engaged in order to arrive at that information note.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are now
And if I may, if I know you are running for time, if I may, on that very same day when we discussed this with General Masemola, we were at Limpopo, and that was exactly on the same day when we arrived back from that meeting in Limpopo. We had another meeting in the evening until after 9. That's when he informed me that he is under pressure to suspend
to suspend who?
me.
Oh, okay. What was your reaction to that statement?
I asked him, oh, he said it was people from above, others from outside. I said, who? Couldn't give me the names.
We are now at paragraph